Hello, this is Crypto Neptune, and in today's video, we're going to do a quick check-in on PulseChain and answer the question for PulseChain. Are we eventually headed to riches, or is this essentially it? Is this the ruins? So we're going to dive into it in this video. And remember, guys, nothing I say is financial advice. So this is the reality of the situation for some people. Those folks that sacrifice are essentially 99% down. Now, for me personally, I did not sacrifice for PulseChain. I got into PulseChain right around here, right around in August, is when I was first introduced to PulseChain. Didn't know anything about it. But again, so me, I got essentially a good entry point, whereas other people didn't sell off those initial gains, but that's kind of what happened there, as they didn't sell off and now they are treading water, is like what we like to say. And for PLS, currently over the last 24 hours is down 4.09%. But it's been a rough ride. Being on post chain, sentiment has kind of shifted a little bit. And just going through some of these tweets here, and this was kind of a good tweet here by Beirut. Everybody, Richard Hart is basically giving away his post chain for free. Anybody want it? So that's pretty good tweet. And there was a good back and forth on the thread. And Trevor, this was a good one with Will Ferrell here. You guys want to buy some PLS? I imagine Will Ferrell, actually saying that. So that's kind of funny by Trevor. And then, this guy is upset. He took all the profit possible, and now OFC, he has to give it away. So this guy is upset. This guy does. So yeah, so Wes, he still wants to buy some post chain assets, absolutely. And then always, yeah. So there's some people that have that belief, and that's what it boils down to. I mean, it boils down to your own personal preference. Some people are just saying, just forget it and just moving on, while others still have that glimmer of hope of scooping up on some of these steep discounts and waiting for the magic to happen. And then let's look at this one. So Khaled on crypto, he says, which would you rather own, gold or PulseChain? So this is his post. So let's go and see what people are saying. And again, it's just kind of gauging like the sentiment of the community. And Ian says gold all day. PLS probably going down more. So he's feeling a little bit bearish, and he's one of the most upbeat people on PulseChain. So if he's bearish, then something is is off. I feel you when gold RWA on PulseChain. And then Travis says gold for sure. And let's see what else. PLS 10% plus APR. And he says that's a 100 million salary right there. Yeah, so that's a good one. Definitely PulseChain. So it's like a mixed reaction of how people are feeling. And this guy here, Gold Dub PLS sucks, is down 99% because of Con Man. So it's like all over the place with this sentiment. People are just, over emotional and they're upset. And that's why we always say invest and use risk capital only. Only use risk capital. Don't use more than you're willing to lose. And he says everybody knows traders lose all their money. This is from Richard Hart. But for some reason, people post what big traders are doing like he must know something. Well, he don't know enough to stay away from trading. So Richard is basically saying, buy and hold because you never know what's going to happen. That's what Richard is saying. And there was another good one up here too. He has some other ones just kind of scrolling up. And this one says, people don't know how getting really rich in crypto works. For the things to go up, most of the wealth comes from not selling on this dip or selling this high or that high. things don't go up and stay up in a straight line. Volatility is the price you pay for. Yeah. So, and he's, and then there was some speculation. This is the PLS chart, and this was around the time where ETH had went on a nice little run, and many in the community kind of speculating, did Richard inject a little bit at the same time? I don't know. It's possible, but it was a nice little run for PulseChain. But ever since, as a matter of fact, yeah, we went to 3 zeros. That's what the volume was doing pretty good there, and then ever since then, though, we just been kind of just bleeding backwards. So, it just depends on the individual investor, and you're not at a loss unless you sell at a loss. Is kind of the way I look at it. And again, for me, it's it's stress free. I use risk capital, but the one thing with Post Chain is it's the dreamer's chain. It's, for me, it's the dreamer's chain because it allows you to dream. It is definitely a wild card change because nothing is guaranteed. Richard, with all that Ethereum, could do what he want to with it. However, we already know about the past history of with Hex. He the past history of Hex where hope was lost, and for those traders and those people that just buy and hold and they waited for the run up, they made life changing gains. So this is all right now we have to look on is this Ethereum hex chart and those people that got the gains during this run. So can the same thing happen? And he also has another thing that the community is a little frustrated about is the whole prove X and that piece of it, the whole sacrifice of that. So there's a new sacrifice of Pulse X or prove X, excuse me, on what we talked about on my last video. And he had it in here. Let's see how much is sacrificed. But people are like, they for the better of it, they don't want to sacrifice, but you can sacrifice coins from other chains. Is pretty much the gist of it. And yeah, 1.96 million has been sacrificed so far. So for me personally, I will not be sacrificing for Prove X. Now, could he potentially use this extra capital? Will it be used to? I would be more bullish on this if those extra funds would be used to pump back into the pump back into Post Chain or some of the key core assets. That would be bullish to me because if he's pumping the core key assets, if he's pumping the core key assets, then that lets you know that pretty much everything on Post Chain is going to absolutely send, and that's what I want. Yeah, I'm just going to look at the core coins. I mean, there's some great coins on here. Most Bear had his run. Peacock, that's a new one as well. The Grace currency, UFO. I mean, there's some great coins on here that have an opportunity to run. So for me personally, I don't feel ruins yet. Is it some pain? Absolutely some pain. But for me personally, I still believe in the freedom chain, the opportunity for financial freedom, and also the dreamer's chain. Pulse chain allows you to dream to get into those key assets that could go on a nice run. But I mean, right now it's just bleeding red all over the place. But again, do you want to be buying when it's on a extreme pump, or do you want to be buying when it's a pullback? And so let's see, did Richard, so he said that. And yeah, so he seemed like he Richard in his heart of hearts, I feel like he wants everything to go up. He wants Ethereum to go up. Ethereum has just not performed well. And so we are looking for Ethereum to essentially pump. Yeah, so in his heart of hearts, he wants it to go up. And then there's a little hopium. So I feel, despite everything, because again, this is all about Richard Hart's legacy. Is it extremely rough right now? Absolutely. It's rough going. And again, you do you with your investments. Nobody tells you when to buy, nobody tells you when to sell. I will never tell you when to buy or when to sell. You do you. That is your risk capital. You do you. For me, I choose to believe in, again, the freedom chain and financial freedom, the dreamer's chain, and that gives you the opportunity to dream of those riches, if that makes sense. So again, this is a wild card chain though. So, but again, it looks like Richard is offering up some hopium. And I guess he's also, in a way, with the whole Prove X thing, is trying to bring additional utility with the whole privacy and the different things what you can do with Prove X. Essentially, it's kind of a mirror of, what is it, ZK Sync, and I believe Zcash is another one. So I don't know. Will it bring another thing too? Real quick before we get off, is could he potentially be using Prove X so that he can funnel back in through his own chain and then pump the chain? So that is something we need to think about, because he wants to be able to be discreet, come back in potentially with those additional assets, that additional Ethereum, come back in that way. And there is, I want to say, there's some more buying and burning perhaps with this whole setup, but I would have to do further research on that. So I hope you gain some value from this video. I mean, if anything, there's if anything, there's still like a little glimmer of hope there with Richard, and but we'll see what happens. Let me know in the comments below if we're headed for riches or ruins. I want to thank you for listening to this video, and thanks for stopping by.